How we doing?
How was Mike doing after that hit?
I mean, I think in the game, he was fine and recovered quickly and, was able to get back in there. Afterwards, he was pretty sore. His throat was a little difficult for him to swallow and stuff like that, but he's okay now.
You opened the game with almost an entirely new receiver core, at least for the first couple of plays. Was that injury situational, or what was the reason?
Entirely new receiving core. I think Rome was out there, J-Mac.
No, Rome wasn't. It was Giles, J-Mac.
Oh, yeah. We just had, that was working Giles into a different mix. Yeah, just some personnel things to try to, always working on breaking tendencies and things like that.
How was Giles?
He's okay. He was out there yesterday. We're trying to go day to day on him. He's going through all the things he has to right now, but he was doing really good afterwards.
With Cam Davis getting to the end zone 3 times, I'm curious how you kind of view him as a weapon. Is he a bit of a different player than you saw in film from last season when he came in, or just how do you think is the best way to kind of use him at this point?
Yeah, I think CD has been, what I always think about is, the improvement you're seeing with him week to week. You're talking about a guy that for the most part of fall camp wasn't there and certainly wasn't there all spring ball. So I think there's a piece of CD still getting comfortable in the offense and playing with a little more just confidence, honestly, where he feels good being in all the calls and things like that. So I really think, you'll see more of that where he's getting better and better each week and playing faster and more confident. So I expect that to hopefully keep up trending.
You went through 5 running backs on Saturday. Is anybody not available coming up?
Right now, no. Rich obviously got dinged, and we're working on him, and he's kind of the same situation as Giles, but they were both doing great yesterday, and they're just working with our medical staff, see where they can get to. And then Wayne was nursing a little bit of ankle there, but he practiced yesterday, did all drill work, and seemed to be okay.
What was the thought process of going for it on 4th down, coming out in the second half?
On our own 30 or 29.
Yeah.
So we just went with the book and told us to go. It was less than a yard and had a play we were super confident in, and obviously that didn't pan out for us.
With the book, it seems like more and more coaches are deciding to go in situations where maybe 10 years ago they wouldn't. Has the philosophy shifted somewhat in that regard throughout your career? What have you seen in terms of?
Oh, for sure. I would say even in the last 3 years, it's shifted a lot, and it's more of an aggressive mindset, and I think that was by far our most aggressive call, just judging by field position and where we're at early enough in the game where, you hope you can recover from something like that, and that was certainly worst case scenario. You don't get it, and then on top of it, they go down and score. So those are the risks you have to know that are associated with that. And I think the thing for our guys was I was impressed where they were able to respond and understand what the significance of not getting that was, and then the defense being able to just go out there and not worry and complain. But that's something that has to be explained by Coach DeBoer, really early on to the team that, hey, there's going to be some situations where we go for it, and you hope you get them all, but obviously sometimes you don't. So it certainly has gotten a lot more aggressive.
And that's not going to change your mindset, that one last play.
Can't.
You're 11 out of 17 overall, which is a 66%.
Yeah,
ratio.
we were really bad in that regard, in the game. I think second half, came out. That was the first time we didn't score coming out of halftime, which was unfortunate. We really needed to. Got a good stop by the defense, and we didn't take advantage of it. And then we score 3 touchdowns in a row. Then we get in a 4th and 10 situation, and then there's the end of the game series. But those 2 series there were the first one, and then the 4 plays with really good field position, and we don't convert. That was devastating, for the football game, because we were in a position, we had a lot of momentum. Things were going really good. And, the bottom line was it was 4th quarter. It was a tie football game. You got to go down and win the game. So that was – and that series that we stalled out on a 4th and 9 or 4th and 10 where Mike just was a little bit off, and there was kind of some pressure off the left side of him. that was unfortunate that, we couldn't connect on that. But it was 4 plays in a row there where we just needed to be hitting on all cylinders, and we didn't. It was just absolutely worst timing possible. We have a first down where Mike gets out of the pocket and, hits J-Mac. We get a drop. We go second down to a play we know, and we got a guy coming loose underneath, and we missed that. We got a tight end open on the sideline, didn't see that. It was 3 plays in a row, and then the end we get a soft edge on the left side, and Mike can't stand up and hit Rome, who's open. So it was, 4 plays that you got to address and talk to the guys and find ways to make sure those don't happen in the most critical moments. So that's what we got to work on.
4 different plays, but any similarity outside you got to, execute. When you looked at it, was there any recognition in that? I mean, any familiarity in all the 4 plays?
No, there was a screenplay that we didn't execute that, we felt really confident in. I think in situations like that, you got to make sure you have calls that the kids can be confident in, something that you don't want to pull out the one-off play sometimes where it's, they're a little bit tentative in those moments. You need something they can operate at a high speed. And I thought the play selection, the guys, that's what I always ask them. You want input from them. Hey, did you feel good about that play call? Did you, feel confident? And, they're good at owning stuff too. They messed up and they'll tell you, hey, it was man, we're trying to throw a screen and we didn't go to the right guy on the block and got to be better. We should know that play. It's one that we put in, one of the first screens we put in. So that's what you want to know, is because you want feedback from the kids to find out like what didn't go right and why. And, is there anything you guys can help me with, to find out and diagnose what we need to focus in on. But they did a good job of that. They owned up to it and they're pissed off, and they know they don't get it back. Doesn't matter how mad or frustrated or how many times they say they're sorry, they don't get that game back. And those are expensive lessons.
It seemed like Arizona State they're playing pretty soft coverage. They didn't want anything behind them. I just felt like you guys got explosives like we've seen throughout the season. Was that something new that, like, defensively that they were doing? Do you think teams were adjusting to what really makes you guys go, or just tell me what you thought about that?
No, actually, they were a soft coverage team going into the game, and they ended up finishing the game over 65% man, which was different. Going into the game, they were under 20% man coverage, so they actually upped it quite a bit, which was different for us. We hit 19% explosive, which was one of our better games. Had 32 first downs, and it's just those critical moments when you got to stay on the field and you turn the ball over on downs. That was the big issue. Even the pick six. Mike's trying to slide into a space window. JP's coming open and he slides to the left, and at the same time Jackson slides left. The ball bounces off his helmet. I mean, those things happen. You can't criticize the kids for plays like that, but not executing on short yardage, things like that has got to be better.
In terms of, you mentioned the book telling you to go, you guys have already gone for it more than you did all of last season. And I'm wondering, has your guys' philosophy, talking to Kalen, shifted in some way going from there, or is it situational? How would you kind of explain that?
Yeah, that's a great question, a good observation. Some of it more so has been, and even when you look at what we've done offensively, we've been very efficient moving the ball and not getting a lot of negative yardage plays in the first games. And so we were in a lot of go positions where I think last year's offense at times, we weren't quite as efficient sometimes, where there was more long yardage goes. So we're getting all these, 4-yard goes and 3-yard goes where we've been super efficient. And last year, I think we honestly just had less opportunities of those because the book changes slightly depending on your kicking game and defensive circumstances and the opponent and all those things. But I think that definitely plays into it, that there's just been more availability because we've been in more medium and short yardage situations.
Wayne was the only running back that had more than one carry in the first half. How do you manage getting him going?
What was that question again? Sorry.
Wayne was the only running back that had more than 2 carries in the first half. Just how do you manage with that depth and kind of building those guys in the first half? Is there a way to get maybe more guys involved in the first half, or is that just Wayne kind of leading the way?
Yeah, I think Wayne is, the big part with Wayne is just the trust piece. Regardless of what the play is, he's going to go execute and he's not going to, have a mental bust. I think that's, you always want to start a game fast and be efficient and stay on the field. And so far, that's what we've been able to do. And Wayne always gets us off to a good start. And, everybody feels super confident with him in there. And that's, where we're hoping CD can get to, and some guys like that where, they're not busting on a walkthrough. And there's things like that go into it as far as who's getting reps and things like that from a confidence standpoint of like, this guy knows exactly what to do in every situation, and he's the guy you want on the field. So those things are continuing to improve for the other guys as well. But yeah, that's really more than anything, just making sure you got the right guys out there.
I know you'll take 38 points anytime, but is it odd for you to not have a touchdown pass?
Fair question. Yeah, it was. I think that, for us, normally you get one guy who can break loose on a deep ball or something like that. And probably Arizona State forcing us to run it a little bit down there in the red zone, which when we got down there, I thought they did a better job of that. Once we got inside the 20, kind of making us earn it with our legs a little bit, which was good to see the O-line. If you took the 30-yard loss out at the end of the game, I thought they did a good job running the football.
Looked like you ran behind Jackson a lot too.
Yeah, it wasn't somebody else mentioned that to me, and it really wasn't designed that way. It's just which way the ball was going.
Hey Ryan, reading up on Arizona's preseason stuff, their defense so veteran in the back half. That's kind of what I was seeing, but that it seems like they've been hit in passing yards quite a bit. What do you notice there? Is there anything as you kind of scout out the Wildcats? Yeah,
they've kind of been up and down a little bit. There's been a couple games where I thought they played really well, and a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde. They give up 300 yards rushing, play a little better in the pass defense. Sometimes it depends who you're playing to. Cal's obviously running the ball really well, and so I think they didn't give up as much there, but they definitely have some guys with experience. Their one captain, number 5, is a solid player, a big safety that can be a run support guy. And you can tell he's the guy who gets them lined up in the back half. So I think at times maybe it's just, how much man coverage they're playing versus zone and what they're willing to give up. And they're extremely multiple. They're by far the most multiple defense we've played. You can see them in anything from a bear front to over front to man coverage, cover 0, 3 weak, 3 strong, 3 buzz, 4 special, you name it, they're running it. So I think there's a little bit of that too. They're trying to find their groove on what they feel comfortable with.
Anything else, Coach Rowe?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach Rowe, comments? Take a little pause and wait for the coach to come back.
That's the first.
Yes, and you already texted
Cody did with flops on.
Usually comes at 11:45.
Yeah, usually you can see.
Yeah, that's how I usually see them.
defensive backs, just kind of what was the mindset of getting so many guys involved?
Necessity. Yeah.
How much did you learn about the secondary and some of the younger guys?
Well, I mean, obviously we're taking some tough lessons right now, but, look at, throughout the course of the season and there's never any excuses at all. And the standard's the standard and what we need to uphold and maintain. But, going into, through 6 weeks, we've played, 6 different starting lineups out of necessity. I think the biggest thing, though, is we need to now get paid off of some of those guys that have had to be on the field, and then really work to be able to build up our depth chart based off of those guys now having some great game experience.
DeBoer is kind of one of those guys, especially with getting the interception. Kind of how much do you feel like it'd be a confidence booster for him?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for him. I think as a young player, and he's been on the field a little bit. He started a couple of games ago. Felt a little more comfortable with him coming off the bench this last week. And, I think you've seen in special teams and in secondary play that he's been, really productive in short bursts. And so what we're really looking for out of him right now is just to be able to carry over those big plays and that consistency throughout the course of an entire game.
How much was Asa going to be in the game plan throughout the game if he'd been able to go, and where's he kind of looking at like this week?
Yeah, he would have been significant for sure. Unfortunate deal, but we're fully expecting to have him back. And obviously he's, I always feel like 20's got a calming effect over the top of everybody. He's one of the most veteran guys, has a lot of experience, and we got him back, late last week, and he started looking back up to full speed. And so we definitely were going to he was going to play a lot, and we expect him to be fully healthy and rolling this week.
Did you get a clarification on, it was kind of confusing what they called and what he got booted for?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think the game is leaned, extremely heavily towards player protection, and it's hard to, like I said, I told him it's a tough play, and there wasn't a malicious intent on his part, and I guess that'd be a question for Coach DeBoer and Pac-12 officials.
Jeremiah Martin, after the game, said, somebody mentioned that there'd been 1 sack in 2 games, and he said something about the last 2 teams were chipping at him or something, and I thought...
Yeah, well, I think coming out of, obviously coming off the Stanford performance, there's definitely been an adjustment, that teams have made in terms of, not letting those guys just run off the edge. So, yeah, we have seen them run a little more protection, but probably more important than that, and this is what came up last week, is that quarterbacks are not sitting back there hanging on to the ball very long. The ball's coming out really fast, and, I think those guys are still, winning at the line of scrimmage, but at times the ball's coming out extremely quickly. And I think that's a methodology people are using to protect their quarterbacks a little bit right now.
They also probably need a little help from your defensive backs to string it out a little bit longer, too.
Sure, yeah, always.
Obviously, health and availability have been issues in the defensive backfield, but are you seeing some growing pains going from one scheme to a different scheme?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think the guys understand it. I think it's just like, put it in context of, say it's our quarterbacks and wide receivers. They need rhythm. They need time to work together and be on the field together. And, I think there's been, when we've been in a situation where we've had to move guys into different roles or different spots during the week or during the game, that there's been some breakdowns. And to me, that's just lack of experience of those guys making 1,000% sure that they're on the same page and executing the call. So to a T, I can take any guy in the film room right now. They know our scheme. They know it inside and out, but they're getting challenged to, play different roles in different spots on the field. And I think that's where the lack of consistencies come from us at times.
How do you feel the communication has been with the players on the field, kind of in the game where you're going to see, hey, is there communication or is there not what you're wanting to see?
Yeah, I think if you go back to a couple weeks ago, UCLA, it wasn't even close to where it needed to be. I thought the guys did a good job last week of talking and communicating, and that's always a point of emphasis. It doesn't matter, it's a day one thing. It's every day of the week we work on communication, and it's only going to get enhanced once we get, I look at our top communicators that are out there. Like I said, Asa Turner, phenomenal communicator, knows the system as good as anybody, knows it on our entire defense, and I think it's going to be an asset that, some of the guys that have been in there have had to drive the communication. Now you bring him back into the fold, and now he's kind of the lead dog when it comes to making sure we're on the same page. And so I think that'll help build the confidence around with the other guys that are on the field.
So when you have struggled with a young group, how do you go about instilling belief when the results haven't been there?
Yeah, it's simple. I tell them after the game you love them and you believe in them. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, and we really do, I think, trying to create a culture of letting the guys know that we really care about them individually, even at times when their performance suffers, and that, the next day is going to be a new opportunity for you. And I just saw it, yesterday in the film room, we're going through the details of the mistakes that we made down south, and guys really locked in. And then we go out and we go through a walkthrough, and guys are helping coach each other and correct each other a little bit from the mistakes that are made, and they're talking through the situations, which to me, that's a huge sign of positivity. And so, it's got to come from the coaching staff, but I think the internal, the point I'm getting at is the internal communication that those guys have supporting each other is as important as anything as well.
Looking ahead to Arizona, there's a QB there who obviously this team knows pretty well. What does he do to strengthen the defense?
Man, he's dynamic. I mean, it's just he's dynamic with his feet. I think every time he gets the ball in his hands, I think he believes every snap he's going to score a touchdown. I think that's got to be kind of what it looks like, appears to be his mentality and his mindset. And I think the biggest challenge is how long he extends plays. I mean, there's several several shots where he's running east, west, and then finding a guy open down the field. So I think the challenge is trying to stay attached to your work throughout the course of what turns into be a 9, 10, 11 second play. And I think he's operating their system very well. And he's got a great receiving core around him. I think he's got some dynamic guys, and they're doing a really effective job. You look at, their average catch rate is 15 yards. I mean, that's kind of the general average catch rate of all their receivers right now. So that's really impressive. And they're doing a good job of getting up and down the field. I think it's obviously, hampered them at times in a few games is some untimely, turnovers. So.
You at one stage in the first half had like 4 freshmen on your defense at one point, and one of them was Javon Parker, who played a lot.
Yeah.
Could you assess how these guys, Tristan Dunn and Javon Parker, did?
Yeah, like I said, Javon had to, again, out of necessity. I mean, went from being on the scout crew, but doing some great things. He was our, I think it was twice he was our scout team player of the week, and then just watching his maturity and development. And then we needed him on Saturday, and I go back out and I look at the film and I said, for a true freshman, he did a fantastic job. He gap sound. Pressuring the quarterback at times, and to me that's really exciting for the future. And then Tristan Dunn, he is incredibly athletic, very, very talented, very gifted, and did some great things for us on special teams. And hopefully we can have his role grow. I mean, I think he's the one that's got to do the most work in terms of understanding alignment, assignment, technique all the time. But he showed some big time flashes, especially on special teams on Saturday. So we're excited about his future.
How do you feel Lance Jackson did in his first significant game reps?
He was fine. Just consistency. I'm just looking for him to play good tight coverage. And, I think that the great thing, just getting EJ, we haven't had EJ for most of the fall here, but getting EJ back rolling again, is that he's playing with some confidence. He has confidence in his abilities. And the other thing, you'd start to understand about him when he's on the field, that he is a very consistent communicator out there. And so it was good to get him out there and get him started. But now, that was the first taste. And so now we'd love to be able to have him on the field even more.
Did he come out of that game okay?
Yeah, he should be fine.
How did your linebackers play out? We just didn't hear too much about them. I mean, you knew the secondary had a few troubles, and the defensive line was edge rushers were doing their thing. We just didn't hear too much about the linebackers.
Yeah, Cam Bright has his best game for us so far, which is exciting. I think obviously we believe in Cam and his ability and his skill set, and just to see him coming into his own right now, just running. I mean, that's the one thing he does as good as anybody out there is he can run to the ball, and thought he had his best game. Zoe, is Mr. Consistency. I think you could bring up which guy played the best on defense any given week, and number 11 is going to be in that conversation. Probably not probably not Zoe's best game that he's played so far this year, but he's been one of our most consistent guys. But I thought Cam had one of his better games on Saturday.
Going back to Arizona, can you just talk a little bit about that wide receiving core in a little bit more depth and just the challenge that each of those top three?
Yeah, I think Cowing, number 2. I mean, I think he's a transfer kid. We've actually seen him before last year. Electric. He's got 46, 47 catches. He's a catch and run guy. I think anytime they can get him the ball, level 1, level 2, the big concern with him is run after catch. And then the freshman kid that they got on the outside, number 4, is dynamic in terms of his leaping abilities. 6'5". I imagine his vertical jump has got to be at a premium. He can go up and get the ball, and then number 5 is really consistent for him. I think he's at 30, 36, 37 catches, and then you throw a tight end in that's got 20 catches too. So you're not just isolated and defending one spot on the field. You really have to be able to defend 4 or 5 guys, and their backs are involved in their passing game as well. I mean, their backs are going to be check down throws, and so you see the quarterback work through his progressions, and if there's nothing available downfield, it's either scramble or throw it to his check down. And they've actually had quite a few explosive plays throwing to check downs, and those guys stand on the sidelines by themselves and take off and gain 20 yards. So we're talking about here early on, you've got to be able to defend all 3 levels. Level 1, the short game, the screen game. Level 2, the intermediate cuts, and then they can throw the home run ball in there as well.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, good morning. Just to recap quick the game, a lot of things that we thought happened during the game, what we saw in the film, and you've heard a little bit about that. Still proud of the way we continue to battle. That's not what we want to be known as a team that's battling because we're behind and need to get the job done and put ourselves in a hole. But that says a lot about our character of our team, and we got another great a challenge in different ways. Every week provides a different challenge, and Arizona moving the ball and what they do, and I think they're continuing to build their program and be better each and every week. So fortunately, we get to be back in Husky Stadium, homecoming, and there's a great vibe that I know our guys have, having played 4 games already here. So excited about that. Guys, we're excited to get back to work. Yesterday we went on the field, and we won't always do that where we practice on a Sunday, especially as the season goes along. We'll continue to pull back on that, but I think the reps and the corrections and the walkthrough that we can get to correct the things from Saturday and maybe get a jump start on Arizona, the week ahead is always good for us. So tomorrow starts a new week. I expect nothing but awesome energy from these guys. The journey, as we talked yesterday, isn't always on the course that you want it to go. You don't see the peaks and valleys in the course that's set up, and we just got to really do a great job of mentally, mindset wise, operate in the right space and be in an attacking mode, positive mode, and make our own breaks. We had a few things that went against us, a few breaks that didn't go our way. And I'm a believer, you work hard, you prepare, and you stick together, and those breaks will happen for us. So, questions?
How's Richard doing? How's he doing? He kind of got banged up in the game.
Yeah, he'll have to this week. It'll kind of be a day-to-day deal with Rich, so I'm not sure if he'll be available, but we'll see. We'll know more as the week goes on.
How do you feel the depth is coming in that second and third spot behind Wayne? Because it seems like Wayne's obviously established himself. And how close do you feel those next 2 guys are to reaching where Wayne's at?
Yeah, we saw some of those guys pop off some runs. I thought Richard, it was fun seeing him. He was mainly kind of tied up in tight confines, in most of his carries throughout this year. But we got him out in space, and you saw him run aggressively. You guys have seen that more than I have. You know him better than I do as far as other than film that I've watched. So CD, got out there and had a nice game. Thought he was really consistent. It was fun seeing him get involved. And so the run game improved overall. You know, the stats maybe didn't show it because of right at the end there with the snap, but you know, I just thought we continue to grow and people are adjusting to what we do offensively, and the other stuff starts opening up, and that's why it's so important to have threats all over the field. But I think the running back depth continues to evolve, and we needed that on Saturday, you know, with some guys kind of in and out for different reasons.
Any lingering concern at all for Michael coming out off that game?
I don't think so. I think he's all good. Yeah, just I think he was a little sore after the game, kind of a nerve. You know, really didn't know what was wrong when I first got out on the field, and then figured it out, and then really just turned the corner really fast. Like, you know, it's just kind of one of those things where all of a sudden he's like, oh, I think I'm gonna be okay, you know, and he was really sore, but he's fine now.
He's been one of the most hard-luck college football players around, with his seasons ending previously. And here this game was kind of a milestone because he hadn't got past Game 6 yet. And we're standing on the sideline, and then we see him go down. We're going, is this jinx still in place here? Did you think about it or talk about it with him at all?
I was trying to think through. I was just trying to sort out where he was going with the injury, and you know, he was able to, I think the pain was so strong early on. It was a lot of different things in that area, and you know, he kind of really dialed in on what it was as it diminished. And so at first I wasn't sure. Maybe a little bit of that thought was going through my mind. I was thinking more about, you know, I didn't feel in my heart that it was something would be a season-ending injury. I don't know. I just didn't feel that way. But I knew we'd have our challenges as far as, you know, finding a way to win the game, you know, and Demo did a great job coming in and, you know, slinging it, you know, got us a good gain, got us a first down, and Mike went back out there. I was really proud of the way all our guys responded and the way their mindset was through all of that.
You've addressed already going forward on that fourth down in your own territory. I'm curious, college football has shifted a lot in that direction in terms of analytics telling people to go more in those situations. How has your philosophy shifted over the course of your career towards how you approach fourth downs?
Yeah, to me, it's still only a recommendation. We have, I think, done a good job of preparing and game planning. You know, you have a few more third down and 6 and 7 and 8 calls in your arsenal, because you might not always just throw it on a higher percentage. You know, you might play you might be okay with being in a 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. But to me, it's just a recommendation, and I've trusted my gut in most of those times over 20 years, and won the fair share of games doing that. And I did feel like in that moment, and I've gone against it quite a few times already this year, you know, what the recommendation was. And I felt like in that time, you know, I felt like I just really felt confident that we would get the first down.
Isn't that just your style to kind of push it? I think Chip Kelly came into this league, and that was his style.
Yeah.
And nobody else did it.
No question. I mean, I think that's, you know, you can't be reckless. You can't be careless, you know. And obviously on your own 30-yard line, I mean, people are going to argue that. But I think, like you said, that's just kind of how we've gone about it over many years, you know, playing confident. And, you know, it's not just a belief in your offense, okay, and that you're going to get the first down. It's having talked about it defensively and them being known to them that they're going to be put in some tough spots, and that they're okay with it. And this is an opportunity for them to rise up, you know, and make a statement of their own. You know, unfortunately that didn't happen, but it doesn't mean that, you know, we can't learn from it, grow, and dig even deeper when it does happen again. You know, I mean, we've gone for it quite a few times this year, you know.
What allowed Tajh Boyd to get so many reps this week past? Was that just scheme?
Yeah, we had a lot of snaps, you know. I mean, I think we threw it 53 times, you know, and so I think just that rotation and, you know, just the guys, we believe in Tajh, you know. He's out there, and we know he can make a lot of plays. He's done that time and time again, and it was really good to see him, you know, get out there and execute. I can think of a couple plays where he, you know, the ball found him, you know, and he was there prepared to go make that play. So I was excited about us continuing to grow our depth and see more and more guys get involved.
Is it pretty certain that Mish is out this week?
Yeah, Mish will be out again this week, yep.
Looked like Rome came off on those last few plays there at the very end. Is he all right?
He's been, you know, there's been little nagging things here for him throughout the last 2-3 weeks. He's obviously played through it and played tremendous, but I think just the volume of things at some point wear on you, and he'll be good to go this next week, and expect him to have the production he's had the last couple weeks. So
It didn't look like Kawhi made the trip. Is there something long-term with him? Or?
no, he didn't make the trip, and be determined whether he'll be with us this next week as well.
With your secondary, there's been a lot of talk about how young that group is, and I'm curious, the experience has certainly been lacking. There's not a lot you can do about that. But do you feel like you have the talent that you need to have right now at corner and at safety in those places to be able to win long term?
I think that probably one of the things that has hurt us is the lack of depth and experience, right? And so, the coaches will continue to adjust and work around the strengths of those guys. I think back to earlier in the year, especially with a guy like Mish, there were things that we were starting to do right before we lost him that I think really played into his strengths, whether it be coverages and helping him not helping him, but the way he could help our secondary. And, it helped us not just in the pass game, but in the run game. Just the way we were playing him. And every guy has their strengths. Some guys run better. Some guys are more physical. And, we'll continue to adapt to fit what the strengths of the personnel are that we put on the field. But I think just sheer numbers wise, we have to continue to bring more guys through recruiting into our program. Again, those guys are taking a lot of snaps just not in defense, but on special teams. They're key guys that run down the field on kickoff and covering punts. And, we got to recruit more numbers. We were a little short to begin with going into the season, and then, just more stress gets put on those guys and the volume of work that they have, whether it be practice, but in particular games. And, that's the wear and tear that you're seeing.
You mentioned you probably knew the numbers weren't quite what you wanted them to be coming into the season. It's a situation where you don't always know what the portal's going to give you. You got Perryman and you got 3 running backs that came in. Did you want to get another guy or two and it just wasn't a good fit, or what was your situation?
Yeah, there were players that we were, and you evaluate every time they come to campus, or someone that you had seen. And we had some changes to our roster, that were unforeseen, in I guess that would have been end of April, early May. That hurt us, and then injuries now. So we knew we were thin, and it's one of those things where we were looking to address it, but we either didn't see a quality enough player that could come help us, or didn't feel just character-wise, and was someone that would help us along with building our culture.
You talked about having to face adversity, and this program's only gone unbeaten once in 133 years, but here you've had a 7-point loss and an 8-point loss, and these guys have spent all of winter, spring, fall listening, to what you want from them.
Yeah.
And has this shaken them a little bit because they haven't gotten maybe the results they wanted? They've had a couple of close losses now, and they put so much into it.
I'm sure there's some. We talk so much about not letting a negative thought complete itself in your mind, and I really feel like the guys are working through that hard, and we got to be there to pick each other up. And it's I think the foundation of everything we do, whether it's the relationships, whether it's the work we've put in, the banked reps of walkthroughs to work the schemes. I think that's where you just really trust in your preparation and the trust and belief in each other. And even when that is lost for a split second because you thought maybe you had help here on a coverage, or a guy was going to run this route, in the end, that, hey, this is a guy I can count on because you've been through it with them. And I know our guys are going to keep fighting and battling. I am really proud of, I think, seeing the last 2 weeks and how we've come into the locker room after each loss. It's been different. It's really been different. UCLA, I think there was a hurt. Riding 4-game winning streak and expectations, and I think there was hurt. And I think this last week it was kind of like an upsetting thing to the guys. I saw a little more like just aggravation, but in both of those moments and everything I've seen so far, there's never been anything as far as finger pointing or guys upset, other than upset at just what the results were. Not upset at someone else in particular or what we did, how we did it and stuff. So to me, that says a lot about who, the character of what the character of our team is and the culture that we're continuing to build. And, if the attitude and effort is in that place, we're going to continue to get better. We want the high expectations. I've been at places where there weren't, and I've been at times in programs where there weren't expectations, and I keep reminding the guys that that's no fun. And so be okay with having high expectations. Doesn't mean that, we're quite there yet, and we know we're not. We never really, said we were. We know this is part of the journey, and, a little adversity along the way is something that we knew, would happen at some point.
Is any part of the challenge defensively matching the personnel on hand to a different scheme than the one that was being run or that these guys were necessarily recruited to?
I think most of the athletes that we have, most of the style of play that we have, I think they just need, just more depth, more defensive line depth, more depth in the secondary. Depth creates competition. Competition continues. I don't care how hard you're working. Someone who's pushing you is going to help you be better, at your job. And, I think one thing that is a little bit different from just how you're comparing one year to the next, I think the pressure for the opponent to continue to be aggressive is something that is putting a little more on our, is a little more pressure on our defense as well, right? The opponent's offense right now knows that they got to keep scoring points, and they aren't just going to hand the ball off, another time. And, a lot of times either the teams have been playing playing from behind, and so they've had to continue to be aggressive, or they've had the lead and know that we're going to keep putting the pressure on them as well.
With that same idea, do you feel like your offense has pressed at any point because they felt like, okay, we need to keep scoring just because there has been some defensive issues thus far?
I think the fourth quarter when we were, I think it's those moments that are in, like the end of the game when you're down 7, I feel like our offense is going to feel like they can and should score over 40 points, every game. And so, but it isn't about what that looks like at the end. It's about what you just, that's where the 1-0 mindset is so important. You just focus on that play. Let's not get caught up in how we're going to get a 40-point touchdown. That doesn't exist. Let's talk about how we're going to get a first down. Let's talk about how we're going to get the first touchdown. And so they're in the right mindset. And so, I kept telling the whole team, the game's going to keep coming back to you. Like, we're good enough, and we're going to keep putting pressure. We're going to make plays somewhere. Devon Banks getting an interception. And all of a sudden, at some point, the other team's going to make a mistake too. And we make a play, and we get the short field and a lot of momentum going in our direction. And we're just going to keep playing team football, keep trusting and believing. But I think that, that's where we're at as far as the team and our mindset.
Is Latula Gassano available? He's probably one of those guys that shouldn't have played last week, I imagine.
Which one? Who?
Latula.
Yeah. He was a little bit limited, just in the number of reps that he could have played. I feel like he'll be healthier as this week goes on, but he was a little bit limited.
Is Ollie kind of dealing with the same thing from training camp?
No, it's different. It's different. Something that happened in the game week before. But again, his situation was kind of right, game day, game time decision. And so, and as far as just how he felt as that was, as the game was going on or as the day was going on. So, but I think he's getting through his, and obviously he made the trip. So we were pretty close with him too.
It sounds like Cam Williams has decided to redshirt for you guys.
Yeah. Cam approached us a few weeks ago and, expressed that, that's what he had interest in doing. And so, obviously there's opportunities, and it helps. It hurts that there's we're thin in that position, and but that's the choice, and we've talked through it with him and tried to show him the pros and cons and the opportunities that exist, and that's what he still chose to do was redshirt.
Anything else, Coach? All right.
Awesome. Thank you.